Toru, last name, is one of 8 main villains in the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure franchise. He's the main villain of the Sailor one. Toru's reputation among the JoJo community has improved a lot since JoJolion ended in 2021. I swear, telling people you don't like Toru a couple of years ago was completely fine. But now, if you even so insult Toru and his goofy little haircut, all the Toru apologetics come out of the woodwork to shame you for insulting their baby boy. In 2022, coming out as a Toru hater is shamed just as hard as coming out as a League of Legends player. I, like you probably guessed from the title, don't like Toru. I think Toru is the worst JoJo villain and probably my least favorite aspect of Part 8 JoJolion. Now, I'm gonna make a bold claim here, but if Toru was a better villain, I actually think JoJolion might have been my absolute favorite part in the series. But unfortunately, this guy sucks, man. Whoa, okay. Before you guys all go and dislike bomb this video, at least hear me out, okay? I have a lot to say about this creep.
Volume 1, The Toru Problem.
Chapter 1, The Underwhelming Presence. Remember Part 3, Dio? This man didn't even do anything until the final few episodes of Stardust Crusaders, yet he still had such an overwhelming presence throughout the entire part. The mystery of his stand, his prior history with Jonathan, his destiny to clash with Jotaro. Even when Dio was doing nothing but sleeping away in his mansion in Egypt, his presence was constantly weighing on the shoulders of our protagonists, and by extension, us the viewer. Even in Part 4, where the main villain isn't even introduced until halfway through the part, you're constantly reminded of this hidden leech in Morio, a blight on the town's otherwise golden radiance. The record-high disappearance rates, the cold opens of episodes that begin with mysterious severed hands, and definitely through Raimi. Even when Kira himself is not even in the story, his presence on the world is still being felt. Toru's first introduction in JoJolion is in Chapter 81. For reference, the final JoJolion chapter is 110. Now look, I'm not saying that a late introduction couldn't work, but I am saying if you're gonna reveal your main villain this late into the story, they better make up for it. Kira, for example, despite being absent for the entire first half of Part 4, not only made up for his absence, but has reached a level where he's one of the most iconic villains in the franchise. After Kira was introduced, we got so many scenes in development with him. We got a look inside his head, how he thinks. We had whole episodes about Kira. And even then, when Kira first showed up, he wasn't working with a blank canvas. We already had an idea of who Kira was. We already got those hints, those details about the serial killer plaguing Morio. From beginning of Part 4 to the end, Kira had a presence. Okay, now, Toru supporters. Come on, you gotta admit, Toru does not have that kind of presence. Even the most die-hard Toru lovers, you gotta admit. Toru had no presence in the JoJolion story until he was introduced. Oh, and those Toru supporters, they go, but the flow. Norsuke talks about the flow so early in the part. Dog, I'ma give it to you straight. The flow existed in Part 7 before Toru, it existed in Part 8 after Toru, and I'm gonna assume it's gonna exist in Part 9 without Toru. Stop giving this man all the credit for the flow. Give it to Heiya, this guy needs more love. The flow exists outside of the Wonder of You. Calamity is not just the Wonder of You, but just this new law of nature in the new universe. Unfortunately, this means Toru ain't special. He isn't unique, and there's a lot more rock humans just like him. I feel no more threatened by Toru than I did of Damo. The Wonder of You, while admittedly is a very cool stand, ironically takes a lot of personality and presence away from Toru, and instead gives it all to the stand. When Toru died, I didn't feel vindicated the same way I felt seeing Kira get dragged to hell or Poochie beg for his life. Even after Toru, the stand user, is dead, the Wonder of You sticks around, making Toru feel, even more useless. Dio is scary, the world is scary. Kira is scary, Killer Queen is scary. Toru is not scary. The Wonder of You is scary. Chapter 2, Who even is this man? Who even is Toru? Really, no, seriously, tell me. A lot of these so-called facts you'll find about Toru online are actually nothing more than fan speculation. People make assumptions about his role in the Lokakuka trade or his relationship with Damo and the others, but all that information we never actually get. Even Toru's backstory isn't really his. It's just a biology lesson on the life cycle of all rock humans. So what do we actually know about Toru that is fact? Well, he was dating Yasuho in high school. You know, considering she is the main love interest of our main character, you'd think we'd maybe get a bit more details about this whole aspect of his character. What was he like when they were dating? Why did they break up? What kind of coronavirus was Toru infected by? Okay. Clearly, Araki didn't want to focus on Toru's past. Fine. So let's look at Toru's future. What were Toru's goals? Why did he want to go public with the Lokakuka after the rock humans tried so hard to keep it a secret? How did he find the other rock humans? Are there other rock humans in the trade? Was Toru the boss? Was he the original? There's just so much more I want to know about Toru, yet too much of him is kept a mystery. The closest thing we get as to Toru's goals is one line where one of Toru's allies explained their goal. Man, I don't care about this guy. I want to hear about Toru's goals. Toru, what are you going to do with all that Lokakuka money? Real estate? Bonds? Maybe buy a little island in the South Pacific to move all the rock humans and form the first ever rock human nation? Oh my god! Chapter 3. Yoshikage Kira, the better Toru. I already kind of tested the water for this topic a bit earlier, but I want to give my full details on it. Part 8 takes us back to Morio, an alternate version of the Morio we see in Part 4. Therefore, in Part 8, we get a lot of either direct or thematic references back to Part 4 in Part 4's Morio. I personally believe Araki made Toru to mirror Yoshikage Kira. Both are villains hidden in plain sight, blending in with society. Both have infiltrated and impersonated someone else to stay hidden, and both have an automatic ability designed to keep the user safe from anyone who's attempting to pursue them. I have no problem with this, of course. This isn't the first time Araki has mirrored characters from the past, and some of the most absolute fan-favorite characters are characters who were mirrored from the original parts. The issue with having a mirrored character is that when you improve on the original character, it works wonderfully. You can take what worked with the original character and discard what didn't work. But when the original character completely outshines this new mirrored character, it really makes the new mirrored character feel really obsolete in comparison. I'm biased, okay? I'll admit it. I'll be the first to say, Yoshikage Kira is my absolute favorite JoJo villain. My ex even made me a Yoshikage Kira card. It was incredible. So when Araki shows me this bum-ass, goofy-looking, toad-looking, earbud-to-AirPod Yoshikage wannabe, just leaves me feeling disappointed. It's wild to me that Morio was given the opportunity to host two main villains, and one of them is my absolute favorite, and the other's my absolute least favorite. Chapter 4. Jobin, the villain of my dreams. Look at this character design. God, this panel goes crazy. Jobin has one of, if not my absolute favorite character design in the whole franchise. Like seriously, look how cool this guy looks. I believe Jobin should have been the final villain of JoJolion. Or you know what, even make it a three-way fight. Jobin has the same goal as Toru, to secure the new Lokakuka for himself. I think Jobin works better than Toru though, because we've already got to see Josuke and Jobin butt heads already. Hell, he was even doing the JoJo villain classic of hiring minions. What made Jobin interesting, and what would have made him stand apart from all the other main antagonists, is because Jobin has the same resolve that all the JoJo protagonists have, and seeing Josuke and Jobin go head-to-head, that would have been nuts. I don't even know if Josuke learned what Speed King is. Neither Josuke nor Jobin are bad people. They simply have goals that contradict each other. If one of them wins, the other can't. And like most JoJo protagonists, once they have their goals on something, they don't really let other people stand in their way. Throughout the story of JoJolion, Jobin and Josuke are basically in a Cold War. They both recognize each other as threats, but they both know what would happen to the family if the war were to go hot.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell.
Instead of confronting each other directly, for the sake of the family, they work against each other, but not directly. And throughout the part, the tension just grows and grows. Rai takes one look at Jobin and straight up tells Josuke to his face he doesn't trust him. Jobin was being groomed to be the main villain of JoJolion. To me, it felt like such a bait and switch when Jobin was just replaced with Toru in the final hour. Instead of getting the emotional payoff from having Josuke and Jobin go directly head to head. Oh man, this is a bigger blue ball than that time I thought we were gonna see young Joseph in part 3. You know what? Even Kato Higashikata would have made more sense as a main villain than Toru. Man! Ugh. Instead, Jobin gets shafted with the hot pants treatment. Chapter 5, The Wonder of Poo. Parentheses, the miracle of a crappy mystery. Do you know what I hate in any media I consume? Crappy mysteries! There is nothing I hate more than watching a show or a movie and figuring out the mystery a half an hour before the characters do. Actually, I think I hate Joseph Kony a bit more. Regardless, it makes me think the characters are dumb for not seeing the obvious signs. It's frustrating. If I'm watching a horror flick, I don't want to know who the killer is within the first 10 minutes. Shock me. Surprise me. That's the feeling I got from the mystery of the head doctor. The very first scene Toru appeared, I knew right away, okay, yeah, this guy's the head doctor. Come on, it's just too obvious. Oh, but what about the Yoshikage Kira mystery? Wouldn't you say that one's also incredibly obvious? No. The Yoshikage mystery was never a mystery that was kept from us, the audience, only the characters in the show. With Kira, I'm not forced to wait 7 episodes just for the show to be like, surprise! Kosaku Kawajiri was Kira all along! That's how I felt with Toru. Remember that scene where Toru shows Yasuho a picture of the head doctor? I'm pretty sure this is supposed to be evidence that Toru is not the head doctor, because how could he be the head doctor if he's the one taking the photo? That's dumb. Someone else could have taken the photo, dummy. I think the mystery would be more mysterious if the focus was taken away from Toru during the Wonder of Poo arc. He's the new character introduced in the same arc a new stand is. Who do you think the user is? If Toru's introduction scenes removed earlier in the story, there'd be less focus on Toru during the arc. Look, just throw in some other red herrings or something into the mystery. All I know is the Toru mystery sucked, and that made me feel disappointed.
Volume 2, The Toru Solution.
Chapter 1, This is getting so ridiculous, man. If Toru was introduced earlier in the story, basically just an acknowledgement that he exists in this world, that would make the Wonder of Poo mystery feel less stupid. There wouldn't even need to be any new scenes added either. Toru's introduction takes place with Yasuho at TG University Hospital, but Yasuho already visits the hospital much earlier in the part during the Born This Way arc. Why not have Yasuho's introduction to Toru be here? This way, we get more early Yasuho development and Toru becomes an actual citizen of Morio like Ojiro or Carrera was. Even if Toru then goes silent for another 50 chapters or so, just having him in the story once establishes him as a part of this world, and thus making it feel like less of a cop-out when he turns out to be the main villain. Chapter 2, The Paisley Park Persuasion. Okay, this is the most niched point on my list, so I'm gonna try and be fast. But let me give you my favorite thing about Toru. That's right, we be loving Toru now, but only for this chapter. Then you're back on the chopping block, bucko. As a villain, the idea of Toru infiltrating Yasuho's life under a new persona all throughout her life to gaslight, manipulate, girl boss, and groom her to use her Paisley Park for his own benefit? Damn! That's really creepy and invasive. Ooh, and it gives me the heebie-jeebies to think about it. This grown-ass man pretended to be a teenage boy to seduce high school minor Yasuho, making her fall in love with him just so he can use her Paisley Park ability without her even noticing. And then once he found what he presumably was looking for with Paisley Park, oh, just drop her. Yeah, dump her, and then he just disappears from her life. Years later, needs to find something, needs some information. Oh, okay, just gonna adopt a new persona and re-infiltrate myself into Yasuho's life. God, in concept, it's so creepy, and it makes Toru stand out among the other villains of the series. No other villain did anything that creepy, but I kind of feel like this aspect of Toru's character kind of went nowhere. When Yasuho figures out the truth that Toru has always been there in her life, swaying in and out, When Yasuho learns that her high school sweetheart and the man at the park were both the same grown-ass, not even human thing, she was just kind of like, damn, and then shrugs it off. Huh? If we got more Toru with more development, I would have loved to get more into how he was able to slip in and out of Yasuho's life, the creepy things he's learned about her, how Yasuho feels about having someone be so invasive on her life. Give me details. This is the first time you're able to craft something this creepy in a long time. How was he able to just infiltrate and pretend to be a teenage boy? How was he able to change himself through every encounter? Villains are made to be hated. They're made to be scary, creepy. You should love to hate a villain. And Araki gave Toru such a creepy aspect of his past and then did nothing with it. Make Toru scary, man. Show me how crazy good a manipulator is. Rock humans' brains are engineered to emotionally manipulate humans for their own benefit, their own survival. Give me more of that. Chapter 3. The Toru Lands and Beyond. In a couple of weeks now, or even sooner, depending on how long I take to edit this video, we're gonna get our first chapter of JoJo Part 9, The JoJo Lands. The first part in over a decade. The first part that I will be there in the community at the beginning. I probably didn't even know what JoJo was when Part 8 started. I think there is a definite possibility that Toru, and the rock human species in general, is probably going to get more development in Part 9. And considering Araki's tagline for Part 9 is, this is the story of a boy who became a millionaire off the Southeast Pacific, well, yeah, that's where the Lokakukas come from, and presumably, the rock humans love those. So I'll bet that Araki isn't finished yet with the Lokakuka drug trade rock human Dio died in Part 3, spoilers. But then in Part 6, we got to see a whole new side of Dio that we'd never seen before through Pucci's backstory with him. It added a lot more depth to Dio's character and the truth behind his motives. I think it's entirely possible that we can get this same treatment that Dio had, but with Toru. Toru is dead, he won't come back, but through flashbacks, his gang, his origins, there's still a lot more information about Toru that Araki could give us in Part 9. But there's also a chance that Araki meant for Toru to be no more than any other rock human. We might get a lot more rock human development in Part 9 in general, but Toru is going to be forgotten the same way we'll forget all the other rock humans in Part 8. And sadly, that leads me into my final chapter. Chapter 4. Acceptance. The best way to fix Toru is not on Araki, it's not on David Productions, but on you. In every previous part of JoJo, there has been one distinct main villain for the heroes to overcome. But in Part 8, it's a bit more gray. I feel sympathy for some of the villains in Part 8, and I feel disgust towards some of our heroes. What makes someone good or evil isn't clear in JoJolion, and characters like Joshu, Jobin, Kato, Tsurugi, they're all notorious for being morally gray. And people to this day have discussions debating whether or not they were heroes or villains at all. It's easy to forget that Toru isn't human. We judge him and the other rock humans with the same metrics we use to judge humans. We, the readers, are told from the author himself that rock humans are antisocial beings, incapable of forming genuine relationships. Yet in the story, we do see rock humans such as Aisho and Dolomite who have formed these deeper social bonds. Rock humans don't have families? Well, what about the Aphex twins? I know it isn't as cut and dry as I'm making it sound, but that's kind of the point. Good, evil, human, rock human. There isn't this big evil in Morio that must be extinguished like Kira. Toru is one of many citizens in Morio who hurt others for their own personal gain. What if the story followed the rock humans? Their species lost the evolutionary race, they're forced to conform to the human lifestyle just to survive. The Lokakuka is an opportunity to seize control, worth, recognition, an opportunity for the rock humans to stand up for themselves. Because Toru is the final villain of JoJolion, and with such a long final arc to boot, I and many others judge him with the same metrics we judge Kira, Valentine, Pucci, but the more I think about Toru, the less fair it seems. The TLDR is, the best way to fix Toru is to fix our mindsets. We should judge Toru not based on the villains of the past, but through his actions in JoJolion. And if I sit down and I do that, I still hate him.